picking up right where they left off and on pace to blow that number out of the water. They are 8-1 in their last 9 regular season games. They get their 4th straight win against the Jags, 10-1 their last 11 against the AFC South. As the Birds are flying high, continuing to be the only undefeated team at 4-0 in the NFL.
Okay, Miles, 134 yards, career high, 2 touchdowns, and the most disgusting day ever. What was the magic?
The magic, you got to get a credit to the O-line. You know, they love days like this. They know when the weather's like this, they're going to ride. We're going to put all our trust into the O-line, and they're going to get the job done. I got to give all the credit to the O-line, man. They opened up the holes up for me.
You played with an O-line that was missing 2 starters today, though, too. What does that say about what this team is and what this line is?
What this team means, next man up, and you got to give credit to Coach Stout. He's coaching them boys best. He's the best coach in the league to me, and our O-line shows it every week.
Miles, I've been standing in it. It's been pouring all day. You saw they had ball control issues, ball security issues. Why did you not have those problems?
I mean, we stress ball security throughout the whole organization. I get you, bro. We stress ball security throughout the whole organization, and that we take pride in that. And we take pride in our defense taking away the football. So, and you got to give credit to the defense too today. So they got off to a good start, but the defense hold them to 0 points basically the whole game. So.
Okay, the Eagles are sitting at 4-0 right now. How are you feeling about your team?
I'm excited. We're going to enjoy this, but it's on to the next.
And the next one in Arizona, maybe a little bit better weather?
Oh, yeah, hopefully indoors, so, yeah.
All right, thanks so much, Miles.
Thank you.
Good try.
Ball security is job security, and someone's always trying to take that job, and Eagles took what they wanted here. 5 turnovers by Jacksonville in this one. And as we take a look at this team by quarter, it's all happening in the second. Slow to start, just 7 points this season, 85 second quarter points. They were trailing 14-0, scored 20 points in this game in the second quarter to go out in front and never look back. 14 points in the third quarter and 14 points in the fourth quarter as well. They had not scored any fourth quarter points until this game as they go to 4-0 in the land of the Bird. All right, let's sink our teeth into this one with Tyler Sullivan and Ryan Wilson. Guys, 14-0 early in this game. The Eagles face a bit of attrition. They are winning games in different ways through different scenarios. Ryan, how much value to be in that early position here and get a comeback win under your belt as well?
It's enormous, Joe. And a year ago at this time, we were wondering what Nick Sirianni was doing, having Jalen Hurts drop back what felt like 50 times a game. The offense has evolved. He's given up the play-calling duties. He understands his role inside this organization as the head coach who can micromanage certain things and delegate other things. And the offense is clicking. And I think this is a great lesson for the entire team. But it starts with Jalen Hurts because we talked about this a year ago and several years prior to that. Why would the Eagles draft Jalen Hurts in the second round when they had Carson Wentz? Turns out Howie Roseman was up to something, and he was up to the right thing because Jalen Hurts is evolving into one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, and we saw that on display Sunday, even after the pick six on that first drive where you talked about the highlights there where Andre Sisco took it back to the house. Also worth noting, Miles Sanders is getting more involved in the run game, incredibly important. Also worth noting, the defense is balling out. And when you have a fantastic defense that can generate 5 turnovers, you can make mistakes early in the game and bounce back from those things. So this team is playing with a ton of confidence. There's so much to be excited about. And even when they were down 14-0 early in that game, there was no panic, which is something we haven't seen in previous Eagles regimes, no matter who the quarterback was. So this is a huge win for this team. And look, credit to Jacksonville for coming out and throwing a few punches. They just weren't able to go the full round, the full boxing match here. And that's a credit more to, I think, what the Eagles were capable of doing down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at what the Eagles were able to do in this game, able to come back and win under those type of conditions. You're seeing it there. It's just rainy. It's kind of a miserable, raw type of day. But I feel like that's kind of how that plays into their hands a little bit, being able to run the football in those conditions, have ball security, obviously play great defense. But looking big picture with the Philadelphia Eagles, they look like a team, obviously 4-0, but primed to be a Super Bowl threat, a legitimate team that could get the #1 seed in the NFC. And then you're talking about having the road to the Super Bowl go through Lincoln Financial Field. I mean, you look at their schedule, it's one of the easiest in the NFL. We've said that going into the year, but now that they've gone through it, I think maybe their next most difficult game will be against the Green Bay Packers in Philadelphia in Week 12, and then maybe at Dallas later on in the year. So for me, you're excited about this win, But then you kind of give it in bigger context. Yeah, the Jaguars, they're an up-and-coming team. Obviously had that really impressive win in Los Angeles last week against the banged-up Chargers club. But ultimately, that's still a good football team with a head coach that knows you extremely well in Doug Peterson. The fact that you're able to pull this one out in that type of conditions, in that environment, it really gets the mind going of where this team may be heading. And you start looking down the schedule, you say, all right, obviously, you're not going to predict maybe a 17-0 season, but you're looking at it and saying, wow, they're going to be favored in a lot of these games, if not most of them, the rest of the way.
Yeah, the Eagles' arrow no doubt pointing up, but 4-0 or 0-4, self-reflection can be productive. So let's nitpick a little bit here because we saw the numbers specifically scoring in the second quarter. But if we break this team down by half, 92 points in the first half, just 23 points in the second half this year. Tyler, when you look at those numbers, is that cause for concern or just more of a construct of being out in front in most games?
Yeah, obviously, it's a little bit of a concern because when you do get into those nitty-gritty type of games against teams that are playoff caliber, as much as we are encouraged about the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they could become, I don't know if they're going to be in the legitimate conversations when we're talking about it in January and obviously, when we get into February in the playoff atmosphere. So for me, yeah, obviously those slow starts, yes, obviously positive second quarters, but you still need to be able to go toe-to-toe with these clubs on a down-per-down basis. Yes, you can have, let the game kind of come to you in the second quarter. But if you're not starting off those games well and you're kind of tailing off towards the tail end in the second half, that's going to allow teams like Buffalo, like Kansas City, like Baltimore, and then obviously teams in the NFC, the Buccaneers and the Packers, all of those legitimate Super Bowl contenders that we've been talking about, those are the clubs that are able to claw back, just like Philadelphia did in this game. Got down early and still were able to overcome and get a win. So if you're going up against these high-powered offenses, you're going to need to score basically every single time you get on the field there.
No, I think that's right, Sully. And I think this could have been a turning point, maybe a chance for some optimism in terms of the second half, Joe. They ended the first half, the second quarter, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. That's great. Started the third quarter with 2 drives, 2 punts. Not so great. But here's how it went in the fourth quarter. They got the ball back on an interception from Trevor Lawrence. They got the ball back on a fumble from Trevor Lawrence in the first 2 possessions of the fourth quarter. Field goal touchdown. The final drive in the fourth quarter was turnover and downs, but that's when they were going for it on fourth down late in the game to try to seal it. And you have to give Sirianni credit for being incredibly aggressive. He is not afraid to go for it on fourth down. We've seen that time and time again, and I think that's going to bleed into these games as we go forward. It's also worth considering this was week 4, so things are probably starting to shake out for most NFL teams. We talked about in previous weeks the lack of the preseason being as long as it has been in the past, having something to do with knocking off the rust. I think this team is obviously going in the right direction. You have to be encouraged about how this fourth quarter ended in terms of scoring the points and generating turnovers. And I think that's a sign of positive things to come as they move forward through this incredibly easy schedule. Worth noting, by the way, Sully, very disrespectful to the Steelers as not being a team that could up I can't even say without laughing, without upending the Eagles in a few weeks when they play. I can't.
I don't know if it's a Freudian slip or it's just fate playing itself out in real time, but Ryan Wilson, Tyler Sullivan, fantastic. As always, in a results-based business, they always produce. So does the team on the Pick 6 podcast. Ryan Wilson, the whole gang, John Breach, even Will Brinson, breaking it down each and every day. All the conversations you need to stay in the know with all things NFL. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the Pick 6 podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.